As there is before. The jury's not here. And I did, does anybody want to speak further on this?
I just wanted to let the court know what we're getting into.
Mr. Mayor's not here. Do you want to wait or?
No, he's given me permission to drive the car.
All right, go ahead.
So just so the court knows where we're going, and it may or may not impact the ruling, we're going to be talking about a specific incident when Mr. Huber was a child in which he ran to try to help stop an explosion at a family gathering. That's what we're getting into. And it's not a general, he was a good guy kind of thing. It's a specific act to rebut that Anthony Huber was going to attack Kyle Rittenhouse. We see it more as he was going to try and save people from Kyle Rittenhouse. That's our basis, and I just want you to know where we're going. Legally, I think that's permitted.
Okay. Defense?
I would argue that's not a character trait for peacefulness, first of all. But if it comes in that I'm going to ask the court under 90405 to allow specific instances to rebut that, which is allowed under 90405 sub 1, I have two criminal complaints involving Mr. Huber where he caused physical harm to other people. And I think if they're going to lay forth or try to lay forth opinion evidence on peacefulness, 90405 allows me to rebut that on cross-examination with specific instances of conduct. But overall, I don't think running to something is a character trait for peacefulness, in my opinion. So that's what I would ask the court to consider.
Okay. Well, I looked in the books. And Colonel McCormick section, and this, we don't update a lot of these things anymore. This is from 1990. The laws of evidence don't change that fast, although there's been change to this rule fairly recent. And I actually, one of the issues I didn't get to yet, and may not have to, is whether on the particular points we're going to talk about, whether the federal and Wisconsin rules are alike, because there's been somewhat of a change. But this is from 1992, and Section 193, Colonel McCormick, a well-established exception to the rule forbidding character evidence to prove conduct applies to homicide and assault cases in which there is a dispute as to who was the first aggressor. This exception permits the accused in such cases to introduce appropriate evidence of the victim's character for turbulence and violence. In response, the prosecution may adduce evidence that the victim was characteristically peaceful person. So it says that the accused can offer evidence of the defendant's character, of Mr. Huber's character for turbulence and violence. They haven't done that. They've introduced evidence of specific acts of Mr. Huber. And that sentence, the second sentence I read, is in response, the prosecution may adduce evidence that the victim was characteristically a peaceful person. So you're responding to something that hasn't been offered, which is character evidence about Mr. Huber. Now, if I read to the revision from 1974 of the federal rule, evidence of a pertinent trait of character of the victim of the crime offered by the accused or by the prosecution to rebut the same. And again, rebut would be in reference to the evidence of a pertinent trait of character which has not been offered by the defense. Or character trait of peacefulness of the victim offered by the prosecution in a homicide case to rebut evidence that the defendant was the first aggressor. So it says evidence, it doesn't say character. So that second phrase seems to suggest that the prosecution can offer evidence in a homicide case to rebut evidence that the defendant was the first aggressor. Wait a minute. Let me look at that again. And respond. Or evidence of the character trait of peacefulness of the victim offered by the prosecution in a homicide case to rebut evidence that the defendant was the first aggressor. So,
Are you reading that right, Judge?
I hope so, because I read it the first time and I questioned whether I had. Let's see. Or evidence of the character trait of peacefulness of Mr. Huber offered by the state in a homicide case to rebut evidence that Mr. Rittenhouse was the first aggressor.
I think it was the first aggressor.
Well, I'm reading from, and I'll try one more time. Here, wait.
It's victim.
Wait. What?
We agree that the victim was the first aggressor.
I'm going to offer as an exhibit here, just to say that my eyes are not feeling that badly. You can look at it yourself. It says defendant. So much for that book. You can look at it yourself. It's there. All right. No wonder we didn't renew that book. You could make a big mistake with that. Let's read from my favorite, which is Judge Weinstein, who says, and this is at 701(3)(c) that we've talked about before. When the defendant offers evidence of the alleged victim's character, then the prosecution is entitled not only to offer rebutting evidence about the victim's character, but also introduce evidence that the defendant has the same character trait. So it starts off when the defendant offers evidence of the alleged victim's character, which hasn't been done.
That's the first part of that statute, not the second.
Well, the second part, if we're talking about this, I'm talking about 2B, which is going to be one, when they do these transpositions of the numbers. What are you offering it under? You tell me the statute you're offering it under.
I'm
I
offering
thought it was 1B.
90404 1B, but there's two provisions in there.
I know there are.
Okay, we're talking about the second, which is the character trait of peacefulness of the victim offered by the prosecution in a homicide case to rebut evidence that the victim was the first aggressor.
Right. And that is a more sweeping statement than the older material before, I think it's a 1974 revision. Anyway, there was disagreement in the other one I used was the Graham Handbook of Federal Evidence, and there's disagreement. So when I walked out here, I thought, well, I think I'm going to resolve it, the tie in favor of the state. Now, you're forewarning them that you have got some other crimes or some contrary evidence, I guess rebutting evidence that we might as well talk about now rather than have to excuse the jury again. Are you prepared for what the defense suggests they're going to offer?
Yes, I don't believe the incident in which an individual runs to try to help or try to save people brings in completely irrelevant criminal acts that have already been barred.
It's character traits for peacefulness is what they're getting into. I have 2 criminal complaints, one of which the defendant held a knife to his brother's throat. He put a knife to his brother's ear. He called him, he said he would gut him like a...
He said what?
Mr. Huber told his brother that if he didn't start cleaning a room in their house, he was going to gut him like a pig. Mr. Huber's brother noticed a knife in Mr. Huber's right hand that looked like a butcher knife, 6 inches long with a green handle. Mr. Huber later on in the same incident threw a chair and some clothes across the room, threatening to kill his brother if he didn't clean. Mr. Huber then sat down with the knife in his hand and watched them while his brother and Mr. Huber made his grandmother pick things up as well. And Mr. Huber told his brother that if he stopped cleaning, he would kill him. Mr. Huber's brother then turned around and Mr. Huber put a knife to his brother's stomach, saying he was going to gut him like a pig. Mr. Huber's brother bent down to try to protect himself. Mr. Huber then grabbed his brother by the neck, dug his nails in, and choked him for approximately 10 seconds. He then put a knife to his brother's left ear. His brother felt the blade and believed his ear was cut. And then as he left, he told the people in the house, "I'm going to burn the house down with all you fuckers in it." That's what Mr. Huber had said in that instance. And that is charged in Kenosha County case 12 CF 1346. He has another criminal...
What was the outcome? And what was it, 12 CF?
12 CF 1346. I believe he entered a plea to strangulation and suffocation in that case.
Okay.
I have a 18 CM 509 case in which he kicked what I believe is his sister, Caitlin Hughes, in the right hip, causing her pain and causing her to fall into a nearby dog crate. So I would normally not move to admit those. However, if they're saying that this is a peaceful man, and if you say, Judge, running to this area to stop whatever was happening, it's not a fight or there's no violence, it doesn't sound like. But if you're saying that's peaceful, 90405 allows me to get into specific instances on cross.
I know that.
So,
Now you respond. I believe 90405.
Just start over.
Sure. I believe 90405 allows specific instances of conduct of the individual being cross-examined, which we obviously cannot do. This I don't know how they would get this in. I guess.
Wait a minute. What do you mean? What do you can't agree? The individual being cross-examined will be the person who's giving the opinion. I tried this case, State against King, right here in this room when I was district attorney, 1974, 75. Mr. King shot his wife in the eye and killed her, and there was testimony. Well, the bottom line was that I was allowed when the an opinion had been expressed about the character for peacefulness of the accused, and on cross-examination I inquired, would your opinion change if you knew thus and so about Mr. King? And there was objection because it was a specific instance, and the Supreme Court said that was permissible inquiry because the opinion had been rendered, and the wealth of knowledge of the opinion giver was therefore subject to scrutiny as to how much information this person actually knew, because the character you're trying to present isn't limited to just an incident involving a fire at some point in time, but is limited to the entire character of the decedent. So my initial inclination would be this is probably admissible. Probably. And if you go ahead with the evidence, and you're welcome to do so, although the defense has also pointed out correctly that the character is for peaceableness, and what you were talking about was more heroism. So, but I think I'll give you that much. But you're forewarned. I'm going to be taking another look at that King case because it's been a long time. But this sounds like something that he'll be allowed to go into.
Understand?
What do you want to do?
I will not submit the evidence.
You what?
I will withdraw that question and not submit the evidence.
You'll withdraw that question and?
I'm not going to elicit that testimony.
Okay, do you want Mrs. Hughes back on the stand?
Yes, there's still just a couple
Okay.
more questions. They obviously have to cross-examine her.
Okay. Are we ready for the jury? Would you come down, please?
Yes.
Mr. Schroff, see what?
Just putting your book back. I want to witness.
Good afternoon, everybody. We had some additional discussion on the issues that were pending, and it has been decided the state has decided to withdraw the question which was asked.
Settled in? Okay. Ms. Hughes, the night of August 25th, or into the morning of August 26th, when or how did you hear about what had happened to Anthony?
I got a text around midnight, maybe a little after, from Anthony's girlfriend Hannah, saying,
Oh, we don't need to get into the context of it. That would be
Okay.
called hearsay. And then, did you ever receive any further communication about? Let me ask it this way: when did you find out that he had died?
much later. It was maybe 5:30 in the morning.
And how old was Anthony when he died?
He had turned 26 a couple days before.
Ma'am, I'd like you to look at there's an item in front of you which I've turned over. I'd ask you to turn it over to look at it. It's marked as State's Exhibit 44. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
What is that?
This is a photo of Anthony as an adult and Anthony as a child with his skateboard.
And are those pictures you provided to my office?
Yes.
Are those true and accurate copies of how Anthony looked at in childhood and as an adult?
Mm-hmm.
I'd ask that 44 be entered into evidence and published to the jury by being passed around.
Is there objection?
There is not.
Okay, go ahead.
That's all the questions I have. I'll give it over.
And he can do it.
I'll do it.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Did you have questions?
I have no questions for Ms. Hughes.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. You may step down.
Thank you.
Kariann.
Oh,
Oh.
Do you solemnly swear the testimony you are about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please be seated.
Ma'am, could you please state your first and last name and spell them for the benefit of the court reporter?
Kariann Swart, it's spelled Kariann-Swart.
And Ms. Swart, do you know Joseph Rosenbaum?
I do.
How do you know Mr. Rosenbaum?
He's my fiance?
And is Mr. Rosenbaum still living?
No.
And did he die on August 25th, 2020?
His date of death is considered August 26th.
And before that date, how long had you known Mr. Rosenbaum?
Since August 3rd of 2019.
And after you met, how long did it take till you started a romantic relationship?
About maybe 3 days.
And had you known him before? You never met him before August 3rd?
No.
And where are you from?
I grew up in Illinois.
What would you and Joseph do together?
When Joseph and I were together at the beginning, we were homeless. We just spent a lot of time talking, getting to know one another, and laughing and joking around. He was a very animated person like that.
And is Joseph from Kenosha?
No, he is from Waco, Texas.
And do you know why he moved up here?
He moved up here to be with his girlfriend at the time and their child.
So does he has a child living in Kenosha?
Correct.
I would like to bring your attention to the day of August 25th, 2020. Did you see Joseph on that day?
I did.
And where did you see Joseph?
I saw him at the motel that we were living at,
Was it in the motel or outside the motel?
outside the motel.
And had you seen, do you know where Joseph had been in the days prior to that?
Correct.
I'm sorry. Do you know where he had been in the days prior to August 25th? In the day or two prior?
Yes.
Where was he?
He was at a hospital in Milwaukee.
And do you know for sure how he got from the hospital in Milwaukee to back to Kenosha?
I am not 1,000% sure. As far as I gathered from him and from the hospital, they brought him down here.
You didn't bring him back down.
No, I did not.
And he wasn't dropped off at this motel?
No.
So how did, if you know, how did Joseph, do you know where he was dropped off?
I believe he was dropped off by the transit center.
So right around here in downtown Kenosha. And do you know how he got to your hotel?
He walked.
I don't want to give the name because it's about how far would that be?
About an hour, 40 minutes, 40 minutes to an hour, I would say.
So the hotel is not in downtown
No,
Kenosha?
it's not.
Ma'am, can you bring the microphone a little closer? It's kind of hard to hear in here.
Is that better?
And when Joseph arrived at your hotel, what did he have on him?
You mean as in on his person?
Well, let me ask this way. What was he wearing?
He was wearing jean shorts, white shoes, and a red top.
Did he have a bandana with him at all?
No.
And was he carrying or holding anything?
He was carrying a plastic hospital bag.
And did you see the plastic hospital bag?
I did.
Did you see what was inside the plastic hospital bag?
I did.
What was inside the plastic hospital bag?
I saw socks, a miniature deodorant, like trial size, little toothbrush and toothpaste, paperwork, and an empty water bottle, like a plastic water bottle that was empty.
So when you're talking about a plastic water bottle, let me just borrow
Yeah.
one from the detective here.
Yeah.
Do you mean like your standard 16 to 20 ounce plastic bottle, or like something you'd see maybe at a gym or on a bike, like a more heavy plastic?
No, it was a plastic bottle like that.
So a small, probably 16-ounce plastic.
It was
water bottle.
empty. There was no water.
And did you talk to him about this bag?
I did. I just asked him if he wanted me to throw it out, and he had said no, he was going to carry it around with him because of the few items that were in it.
About what time did he arrive at this, or I guess near this hotel?
I would say between 3:30 and 4:30.
And what did you guys do once he arrived?
We talked. We hadn't seen each other for maybe a week, and we just mostly talked about his and my relationship.
And this was outside?
Correct.
And then how did, actually let me ask it this way. Do you know if he was able to procure any medication that day?
He was not able to fill the prescriptions he had because the Walgreens closest to us had been boarded up and closed down due to the chaos that was going on.
Do you know, if he had taken his medications that day?
He had.
Do the TVs on? Ms. Swart, I'd like to show you what is marked as Exhibit 26. Do you recognize that?
I do.
And what is that?
That is the plastic bag from the hospital.
And is it true that a few days ago I showed you a printout of this exact exhibit?
Yes.
And is that the plastic bag that you're referring to that he had brought back from the hospital?
Yeah, it's like one of those plastic bags that you just put your clothes and belongings in.
And in looking at the screen, does it seem like there's more items or fewer items or the same items, if you can tell, that he had when he was at your residence?
It appears to be the same as when I saw it.
Can you make out anything in this photograph?
I can make out. I think he might have had an extra shirt in there, that might be, and it looks like the water bottle on the side.
What, I didn't hear what you said.
Shirt.
Shirt, thank you.
Do you know if Joseph Rosenbaum knew anyone named Kelly or Joshua Zeminski?
He did not.
I would object, that's speculation.
Sustained. Expect the answer. The witness would not be in a position to know the identity of all persons that the accused would have known, the decedent would have known. Thank you.
Do you know if he knew any people in Kenosha?
No, he did not.
Same objection. Not sure I heard the question.
The question was, do you know whether he knew many people in Kenosha? And she answered, pardon me?
That would be my objection would be the same.
Okay. It's generally, it's the same, would be the same ruling, except that it's like my asking if you know people in, many people in Topeka. That's really a bad example, but the bottom line is, it's a little bit different from the last. Did the decedent know a specific individual? Now he's asking her, did he know many people in Kenosha? And I think that she'd be in a better position to answer that, so I'm going to let that one go.
And you said no?
Correct.
Now, in your relationship, this about year, how often were you with him?
Every day.
And were there times he would go out on his own?
No.
Were you together all the time?
All the time.
And you said for a while you were homeless, and you said you were living in a tent,
Correct.
and you were together that entire time.
All the time.
Did Mr. Rosenbaum ever introduce you to someone named Joshua Zeminski?
No.
Did Mr. Rosenbaum ever introduce you to someone named Kelly Zeminski?
No.
Did he ever talk about knowing a Josh or a Kelly?
No.
Do you know Joshua or Kelly Zeminski?
I don't.
How tall was Joseph?
5'3".
How tall are you?
5'3".
And was Joseph a larger individual, build-wise? Was he bigger frame, smaller frame, medium frame?
He was medium, smaller frame.
Do you know if Joshua had any money on him when he was at your residence?
I'm sorry.
Do you know if he had any money?
Joseph?
Did I say Joshua? I apologize. Did Joseph have any money?
Hospitalized who are there for mental or emotional disorders. So, but and you're not selling this, sir.
Well, the other area that she had mentioned, or that was talked about on cross-examination, was, did he take his medications that day?
Yeah, that's another matter.
So it's irrelevant, I suppose, if he takes blood pressure medication or medication like that. I'm assuming, and she can come in and do this outside the presence of the jury, I'm assuming there's testimony about him taking his medications for mental health ailments. And I would ask, I don't have to go into it too deep, but I think it's relevant that I ask her what those medications were that he took that day.
You know, it could be, but what if she names a medication? Do we know why it was prescribed, what its pharmacological properties are, what the possible side effects are, what it's generally used for? There's all kinds of things, and I'm not going to invite the jury to speculate on that by just dropping in front of them, well, he was taking liquid penicillin. It means nothing to the jury. So I'm just depositing something for them to speculate about, and so I'm hostile to that.
If she knows what it's for.
Well, I'm going to let you have your voir dire to determine the extent of her knowledge.
Okay.
It is fair game because you did bring up about the medication.
That's all I can ask, so.
Okay. Did you want to say anything?
I don't believe it's relevant. There's things in the reports that he had not taken medication that day. That's why I brought it up. I don't think it's technically all that big of a deal. I do believe it's. I don't think it's relevant. I think that your Honor raises a good point, which is these psychoactive drugs, these benzodiazepine type drugs. I'm not an expert on them, or else I wouldn't be at this table. But one drug can be prescribed for a variety of diagnoses.
Because for the very reasons I've said, I'm not just going to give them something that means nothing to them and then ask them to try to speculate as to what it's for. So ask her to come in and she can be examined. All right, go ahead, Mr. Sharofsky.
Good afternoon, sir.
You had answered some questions from Attorney Krause regarding Joseph taking medications that day.
Correct.
Mr.
Rosenbaum. Sorry.
Thank you.
That Mr. Rosenbaum had taken medications that day?
Correct.
Okay. Do you know what they were?
No, I only know some of them. I don't remember all of them.
Do you know, can you tell us the sum that you know he took?
Gabapentin was one.
I'm gonna stop you for 1 second. Do you know what he takes that, did you know what he took that for?
Bipolar disorder.
Okay. Any other medications that you know that he took?
I know he was on an antidepressant. At that time, I don't know which one they had him on.
Okay.
Those would, and then something for sleep.
Okay, but so the only, to be fair to you, the only medication that you know by name was gabapentin.
Mm-hmm.
And you are telling us that you know he took that for his bipolar disorder.
Correct.
Okay.
Any question for the state?
Do you know, do you know that he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder?
Yes.
Did you go to doctor's appointments with him or anything of that nature?
Yes.
And how do you know that gabapentin was prescribed for that reason?
I was his emergency contact at the hospital, so they really called me and asked me what kind of medications I've worked in the past for him. And I told them, and they were in contact with me, letting me know what medications he was on, just like they called me that morning to say they were going to be letting him go. But that he had had his medication.
So the hospital told you that day or the night before that they were gonna, did they say they were prescribing it, or did they just ask you what they should prescribe?
At first, they were asking what they thought was best, and then I told them what had worked for him in the past, and he, the doctor or the nurse that I spoke with, then explained to me what medications they put him on, and that was that.
How many medications total, if you know, was he taking? Or was he given, let me ask it this way, was he given at the hospital?
I believe he was given Effexor, gabapentin, and Seroquel for sleep. Seroquel.
Sorry, I'm just trying to look up these drugs, I'm not familiar with them. I have no further questions.
All right. Yeah, I think there's enough information that it's admissible. So, and the state did open the door. So, ask the jury to come back in, please.
Ms. Swart, I only have a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
Okay. So you had mentioned on direct examination that you and Mr. Rosenbaum spent the day of the 25th together. Is that fair?
The afternoon, yes.
Okay. And you were asked by Attorney Kraus if he had taken his medication that day, right?
Correct.
And Mr. Rosenbaum was taking gabapentin, is that right?
I believe so, yes. That's what I
Okay.
was told.
Okay. And you know, having been around him, that was for bipolar disorder?
It was to help with, along with the antidepressant.
And when you saw him, this plastic bag, you saw the picture of the plastic bag.
Correct?
One of the things that you mentioned that he had in there was a plastic water bottle.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you had said that that plastic water bottle was empty, is that right?
Correct.
Did you find it odd that he was walking around with an empty plastic water bottle?
Well, when I saw the bag with the empty bottle, I thought it might have been garbage. I asked if he wanted me to throw it out, but he said because he had some clothes and some paperwork from the hospital that he was just going to hold on to the bag because that was all he had.
And he didn't ask you to throw away the water bottle, did he?
No.
He took that with him when he left you that evening, is that right?
As far as I know.
Now, you had said that normally you had spent a lot of your time or all of your time together,
Yes.
but that night was going to be different. Is that fair?
Yes.
And you had told him not to go downtown.
Correct.
Okay, why was that?
Because of all the unrest the days prior.
And you were concerned that he was going to go down there?
No, I was concerned that because the entire city was up in flames that something would happen to him anywhere. But specifically it seemed like it was downtown. So because he was coming from Milwaukee and didn't know all that information about Kenosha, I just wanted to make sure he knew.
Did you feel the need to go with him when he left?
No.
And did he tell you where he was going?
No, he didn't.
Did he, to your knowledge, did he have anywhere else to stay?
No, he did not.
So it was either with you or no other designated kind of place to go.
Correct.
And my last question, from where you were staying, how far is it to 59th and Sheridan?
I would guess an hour walk back, because it's about an hour from the transit to the hotel, so it'd probably be about an hour back to this area.
So if we walk, let's say we walk 4 miles an hour, I don't know that, but so it would be maybe 3, 4, 5 miles, somewhere in there?
I don't know.
Okay, good enough. Ma'am, I don't have any other questions for you. Thank you for your time.
Any question?
Yes, please. Ms. Swart, did the hospital he was at today consult with you on medications he was going to receive?
Yes.
And why? So was this a new mixture of medications that he was
No.
on?
No. This was his regular medication that he had gone off of and had been back on for the last week or so, last week, 10 days before his death.
And he had been on that with his other medications all together for a while?
Yeah, for the whole time I was with him, a year, yeah.
Nothing further.
I have no follow-up questions.
You may step down, ma'am. State. Would you raise your right hand, please? Yes. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Could you please pull that microphone really close in front of you and speak as loudly and clearly into it as possible? Could you state your name and spell your name for the record, please?
Sahil Khindri, Sahil, last name Khindri.
How are you currently employed?
I have my own dealership in Milwaukee,
What is that dealership called?
Car Planet,
Where is that located?
4020 North Green Bay Avenue.
Back in August of 2020, were you operating that car dealership in Milwaukee?
Yes.
Are you familiar with a series of car dealerships here in Kenosha by the name of Car Source?
Yes, sir.
How are you acquainted with those businesses?
Actually, I worked here up until 2015, and after that, I moved to Milwaukee.
When you say you worked here
Mhm.
up until 2015, where is here?
Kenosha.
Okay, at Car Source?
Yes.
After 2015, did you work at Car Source?
No.
Did you have any ownership interest in the company?
No.
Was there a time in which you were down here at one of the Car Sources around the night of August 25th, 2020?
Is that Monday?
That's Tuesday night.
Tuesday? I was actually here. We got a call on the first night of riots. We got a call from police department. It's actually my dad's dealership, so I was here actually before that too.
What is your father's name?
Anil Khindri,
How do you spell that?
Anil, last name, same last name, sorry.
What is his relationship to the Car Source dealership?
He's the owner.
You said that we got a call. Who is the we?
Police department called because my brother's phone was off, and I guess people, like around 4 o'clock, he put it on silent mode at nighttime, and then police department called around 6:30 to notify that riots happened or stuff like that.
Who did the police call at that time?
I do not remember. One of us.
Okay. When you say one of us, it's you
Either
and
my
who else?
dad, either me, myself, or my brother. I think more like my brother.
What is your brother's name?
Anmol Kenosha.
And do you know what Anmol, can you spell that for us, please?
Anmol.
What is Anmol's relationship to Car Source?
He's basically an inventory manager. For example, cars come from the auction, give it to mechanics, repairs, and then once they are detailed, put it on the lot. That's it.
Back in August of 2020, was your brother Anmol the head of the inventory for Car Source?
Yes.
You said there was a phone call around 6:30 p.m. Do you remember which night that was?
6:30 a.m. on Monday morning. Monday morning, yes.
Okay. I misunderstood. What, if anything, did you personally do after that with regard to the issue of the phone call? Did you come down here?
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you normally live?
We were on KR, like
That's-
20 minutes away.
Okay. And when you say we were on KR, do you mean just
We live in the same house.
you, your brother, and your dad?
Yes.
Okay. So did the three of you come down at that point?
Actually, 4 of us, my mom too.
Okay. Did you all come down at that point?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, sorry.
And what did you observe about the Car Source properties at that time?
A lot of cars were burned. The building, a lot of glass was broken. So, and then the police had a caution tape around it.
I've got a map up on the wall behind you there. There is a, next to the, in front of you, that bottle of hand sanitizer, there's
Oh.
a device laying next to it that's a pointer. Yes, right there. It's a laser pointer. And would you please, using that map, point out the location that you've just described as having burnt out cars and police tape around it?
We're on 5821, at least can somebody?
Sorry, what was that?
The address? 5821.
So this is a map of the area of Kenosha along Sheridan Road?
Right on the top, right there.
Okay. And you're pointing to the car source location, which is on the northeast corner of the intersection of 59th Street and Sheridan Road. Is that fair to say?
Yes, right there.
Okay. In addition to that location, there are two other car source locations close by on Sheridan Road. Is that right?
No. There's 63rd Street as a second car source.
Okay. There's also a location kitty corner from the one you just mentioned. Are you aware of that one?
You mean car doctor?
Okay, that's what I'm
Yeah,
asking.
yeah, that's a repair center, yes.
Okay. So if you could point out the one we were just talking about that you mentioned earlier. Okay. And then kitty corner across the street from that to the southwest corner, we have it labeled as car source, but do you see what I'm talking about?
Oh, right here.
Yes.
Yes.
What is that location?
Car doctor.
What is that?
It's our repair center that's owned by my mom.
Okay. When you were originally describing a location that had burnt out cars, that was the first one?
Yes.
Okay. You said you came down there at that point?
Yes.
This time in the morning? Which morning was it that you came down? Do you recall which day it was?
Monday morning.
Monday morning? So this was after Sunday night into Monday morning?
Yes.
What, if anything, did you do after that?
Cried.
Okay. What was the condition of the location that you've now described as car doctor?
Mm-hmm.
What was the condition of that location?
That was fine.
Did you see any damage to any property at that location?
No.
These locations that you've talked about, the car source at 59th and at 63rd, and then the car doctor, at that time in August of 2020, did you work for any of them?
No.
Okay. Do you go by the name Sam?
Sal.
Sal?
Yes.
Okay. Did there come a time on that Monday or maybe the following day in which you spoke to anyone, and I'm asking you personally, spoke to anyone about protecting those properties?
No.
There's an individual in the court who's been identified as Kyle Rittenhouse.
Yeah.
Do you see him here in court today?
Yes.
Have you ever personally spoken to that person?
No.
Have you ever personally texted or called or spoken
No.
on the phone with that person?
No.
Okay. At any point during that Monday or Tuesday process, did you ever speak with anyone about protecting any of those locations?
No.
Okay.
I actually don't even work there.
Okay. All right.
So,
I have no further questions. Suzanne?
So, Mr. Khindri, you, how close in age are you and your brother?
2 years apart.
Okay, and you go by Sal, does he
Yes.
go by Sam?
Yes.
Okay. So,
I don't know if this one's on. I have no idea to turn it on.
I think, can you just turn around for a second and look at that picture?
Yes.
Okay. Is that you?
Yes.
That is you?
Yes.
Okay. I thought it was Sam, but it's you.
Yeah, that's me.
And can you tell me where that picture is taken?
63rd Street.
63rd?
63rd Street. Yes.
In Sheridan?
Yes.
Okay. That was taken on the night of the 25th, is that right?
Tuesday evening.
Now, you were asked, I think Mr. Bringer asked you if you can identify the person sitting at the table with the blue tie on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you had said that you've never seen him before?
Now I know his name,
Okay.
but I didn't know him before that.
Okay. If I told you that he was this guy right here, do you know that?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Binger asked you, if I have it right, if you had asked anyone to protect the property that night, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you had said
No.
to that? So these men are on your property, right?
It's my dad's, yes.
They're on your family's
Yes.
property.
Mm-hmm.
You don't ask them to leave, correct?
Especially when they have guns and they dress up right in front of me.
Yeah.
I was actually behind the silver Mercedes. There was a Hummer parked, which is our personal car. It had a brake line issue, and we parked that car inside, me and my mechanic. And there were a bunch of cars came in around 7-ish, and then the person that's right next to me dressed up right in front of me, like putting the fancy shoes on or something like that. And then he put some other, and then I was over there and I observed that they did that.
Well, tell me if this is right. You didn't think they were there to harm you, did you?
No.
Okay. And do you know anybody else in that picture?
No.
Do you know a gentleman by the name of Nick Smith?
Later I learned he was actually worked for my brother about for a week or two, I don't recall, because I live in I manage Milwaukee store, so I really don't even know his staff until when I come there, because I'm there all day.
Okay, so people in that photograph
Mhm.
have worked for members of your family in the past. Agreed?
Yes.
Okay. And only if you know. Do you know if those people in that picture were going into the Car Source physical building?
Okay, the person with the white hat with the cross, later I find out that he was he used to work for my brother as an ex-detailer, and he worked for a short amount of time.
So my question to you is, do you know if people in that photograph were physically inside that building
No.
that evening?
No.
You don't know that, or they weren't?
In this building?
Yes.
No.
Were they in any other of the Car Source buildings that your family owns?
Just the 5821 and the car doctor, which is a service center.
So they were physically present inside 2 of the 3 buildings, right?
I don't understand your question.
Well, you said you have 3 buildings on Sheridan Road.
Yes.
You said they were not physically present inside that building, right?
Correct.
But they were physically present in the 59th?
Who present?
Any of these people?
No, no. Only person which I can't imagine, because the Nick, he probably inside because he worked as a cleaning cars. That's what he used to do.
Okay, did he work there at the time, on August 25th?
No,
Do you know how he got in the building?
I do not know.
To get in the building, he would need a key, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know, only if you know, does your family's business give keys to people who no longer work there?
They don't.
So to physically get into the building, would somebody in your family have to open the building?
Correct.
Okay. And do you remember what time you took that picture with those people on the screen?
Right before the curfew, I can't recall, 7:30ish.
And then did you leave?
Yes.
Okay. And are you telling the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, there was no conversation between you and any of those people about staying to protect the business?
No.
Nothing.
No.
No, there was not, or no, there?
No, there wasn't.
No conversation?
No.
at
I
all?
think, I personally believe, I think the questions more you have is for my brother.
For Sam?
Yes, he goes by Sam.
Okay.
Because I don't even work there.
Sal, do you have a BMW?
Yes.
Do you remember giving Mr. Rittenhouse a ride from Car Source, what we call Car Source 2, which I think is the car doctor, to Car Source on 63rd? Do you remember doing that?
No.
You don't remember doing
No.
that day?
No.
But you do have a BMW?
Yeah, I have 10 more cars.
Okay, all right.
10 more cars.
Sir, thank you for your time.
Yep.
I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Baker?
Mr. Khindri, there's going to be something up on the screen in just a second I'd like you to take a look at. It's, is there a way to zoom in on the text? Mr. Khindri, there's a message on the screen. It's a text message. I'd like you to read it to yourself, if you would.
Hi, Sam.
No, to yourself.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Have you ever seen that message before?
Yes.
When did you see it? The first time?
I think Thursday or Friday. My brother showed it to me.
Thursday or Friday of what week?
The same week.
Of the week of August 25th, 2020, when
Yes.
all this was happening?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, sorry.
Is it fair to say then that this was a message that was sent or received by your brother, not by you?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I have about that. Put up the photo again, please. Mr. Khindri, there's the photo that was just shown to you of you at the that is the 63rd Street Car Source, correct?
Mhm. Yes.
And there's a group of people there. It's kind of hard. I'm going to ask you to try and go back in time to that moment. There may be some things you've learned since then. I'm interested in, at that very moment, as you're standing there with that group of people, did you know any of them?
No.
I got to ask, why are you in the picture?
I saw the guy right to the right of me dressing up, and I was so impressed. And he mentioned he's from ex-army, and I was like, I never seen that, and I normally saw these things on TV. So I'm the one who requested, can I take a picture? And I think somebody did. I can't recall who did it. And then I gave my phone number to Nick to send it to me, and then that's it.
Did he ever do that?
Yeah, he did.
Can you tell us which one is Nick?
The guy with the white hat.
Okay, that's the
With
white hat with the
X's.
red cross?
Yes.
And I assume before this night you knew who he was?
No, because I always work in Milwaukee, and my brother runs the Kenosha stores.
Okay. Let's put aside Nick for a second. Did you know anyone else in that picture?
No, sir.
What was your understanding at that moment in time what those people were doing there? Did you have an understanding?
A lot of cars came, I think 3 or 4, I can't recall which ones, and me and my technician parking our Hummer inside the shop because the brake lines were leaked, and I saw these people were dressing up and this, and I went over there and I observed that they're dressing up. For me, that was really impressive.
But again, my question is, what was your understanding of why they were there? Did you have an understanding of why they were at your place?
They were saying that they're here to protect Kenosha because and community service, and I was like, okay.
Did you hear any of them say they were specifically there for car source?
No.
You mentioned that there was a Hummer that you parked inside a shop. Was it this building shown in the picture?
Yes.
Okay.
All the way to the end.
Okay. We know this is the 63rd Street car source.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like you to take a look at the people in that photograph there. Obviously, you're next to them at 63rd Street. My question is, were you with any of those people anywhere else that night?
No.
Were you with any of those people at the car doctor location on the southwest corner of 59th and Sheridan at any point that night?
I recalled there were a lot of, right across the street from a car doctor, a lot of people were walking by. I observed some people over there, yes.
Which of those people in the photograph did you observe by the car doctor? The one I'm going to use, you're calling it the car doctor. We actually haven't heard that up until today, but either way, it's that car source location on the southwest corner, or the car doctor location on the southwest corner of 59th and Sheridan. You
Yes.
know which location I'm talking about?
Right across the street from the main lot, right? Yes.
Which of the people in that photograph did you see or were you with at that car doctor location?
No one.
No one in that photograph?
No. I saw a lot of people, like from a car doctor, if I'm standing over there, across the street, they were passing. And then, yeah, I saw that.
But that wasn't anybody in this photograph.
Not that I recall.
Okay, thank you.
Cross-examination? Recross?
Mr. Khindri, I have one question. Are you aware that the people in that picture were at all three of your family businesses that evening?
No.
You were unaware of that?
No.
Okay.
No, I was not aware of it, or?
Yeah, no, I'm not aware of it.
And you, at a little before curfew, you had left for the night, and that was your involvement on the 24th, correct?
Is it Tuesday?
I'm sorry, 25th.
Was it Tuesday?
Yes.
Yeah, that day, that's the last thing I did was took the picture, and then my brother came in with our mechanic because we heard people chanting over by the courthouse, and then my brother came with the mechanic. He dropped him off, and we're like, okay, let's go. We just left.
I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Any direct, you may step down, sir.
Thank you.
What time, let's see, we started at 12:30. Or we didn't start till 1 o'clock, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we were haggling. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please be seated.
Good afternoon, sir.
Could you please bring that microphone as close as you can and speak as loud as possible into it? It's sometimes hard to hear in here.
Sure.
Could you state your name for the record and spell it, please?
Anmol Khindri. It's Anmol. Last name Khindri.
How are you currently employed?
I work for Car Source.
What is Car Source?
It's a dealership owned by my dad,
What is your father's name?
Anil Khindri.
How long have you worked for your father's business?
Ever since we started,
When was that?
back in 2013,
Where is Car Source located?
we have 2 locations. The main location is 5821 Sheridan Road, Kenosha, Wisconsin, and the second one is on 6226 Sheridan Road, Kenosha.
Are there any other locations that are named Car Source?
No, sir.
Do you have your own business as well?
I just started a month ago.
Is that in any way related to Car Source?
No.
Are you familiar with a location called Car Doctor?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us what you know about that?
That's actually our inspection center because we have a lot of regulations that we have to follow for DOT. So every car that comes in has to be inspected certified by mechanics. It doesn't matter if they're certified, but yeah, we just use it as well as we have a body shop and a detailing center there.
All of that occurs at Car Doctor?
Yes, sir.
Where is Car Doctor?
It's right across the street from 5821.
Sir, there's a map on the wall behind you there, and that is showing the area of Sheridan Road. On the north, at the top of the map, is 58th Street, and at the bottom of the map, on the south end, is 63rd Street. Right in front of you, by the microphone, is a little laser pointer. Would you mind using that laser pointer and pointing out on this map where those 2 Car Source locations are that you described?
I can't see that far.
If you need to get up and walk over there,
Can I,
feel free.
please? Thank you. Yes, sorry. Yes, I do see it now. Yes.
Could you please point them out for us?
This is our first location?
And I think you said first location?
Yes.
Okay, and where's the other one?
The other one is 63rd and Sheridan.
And then could you please point out the location that you have identified as Car Doctor?
Yes. It is right here.
And for the record, that is labeled on the map Car Source. It is located at the southwest corner of 59th Street and Sheridan Road. Is that accurate?
5912 Sheridan Road. Yeah, that is correct.
At any point around August of 2020,
Mm-hmm.
were you employed by or an owner of any of those locations?
Sorry, could you repeat that question?
Yeah. We're going to be talking about the night of August 25th, 2020.
Sure.
That was a Tuesday night, 2 days after Jacob Blake was shot.
Okay.
Do you remember that time period?
Yes.
You've identified the 2 Car Source locations.
Yes.
On August 25th, 2020, did you work for those locations?
Yes.
What was your job there?
Move inventory.
What does that mean exactly? You just
Bas-
say move?
Move, yes. We moved all our inventory to our storage units.
Where, you don't need to give me an address, but where were your storage?
Illinois.
Illinois?
Illinois, yes.
Let me back up a second just so I
Sure.
can make sure we're on the same page here. We've heard a lot of testimony and we've seen videos of the, I think you called the first location
Yes.
at in the 5800 block of Sheridan Road.
Sure.
The cars were damaged. There was fire that burned almost all of them up.
Yes.
Correct?
That is correct.
Do you remember what night that happened?
That happened. They say it's Sunday night, but it was very early Monday morning.
You just described moving your inventory to a storage location. Why did you do that?
Because my dad asked me to, and we did have quite a few inventory. The main lot that got burned down, the 63rd location, was as well as jam-packed with full of cars.
Is it fair to say, sir, that after you had a large number of your cars destroyed at the first location, you decided to make sure that you got all of the other cars off the other location?
That is correct.
And that's why you were moving them?
Yes.
By the way, do you go by the name Sam?
Yes, I do.
Now, I just asked you what your job was at those two car sources, and I think you told me it was to move inventory.
Inventory management, in terms of buying vehicles from the auctions, getting them ready, get them transported, all that, yes.
Were you employed by that other location that you call Car Doctor also?
I am not employed by a car doctor, but I manage. Basically, we get our inventory ready via car doctor.
Why is that location owned and named something different than Car Source?
Because we don't sell cars here.
Okay.
Neither we have license to sell cars here.
When you say you managed the Car Doctor location, you seem to suggest that that didn't mean you were employed there.
No, I'm not employed. Basically, like I said, I manage inventory for Car Source.
Who, back on August 25th, 2020, who owned Car Doctor?
My mom.
And even though you weren't an employee of that location, you managed it?
Well, a lot of the inventory sitting there is from Car Source.
Okay. On the day of August 25th, 2020, which was a Tuesday, were you there at either one of the Car Source locations or at Car Doctor at any point?
Sorry, could you repeat that question?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I am going to focus in on Tuesday, August 25th,
Okay.
2020. That was the night that Kyle Rittenhouse shot and killed two people.
Yes.
It is 2 days after Jacob Blake was shot, and I'm asking you on that particular day if you were at either of the Car Source locations or Car Doctor.
I was at the Car Doctor location.
What were you doing there?
We had few customers' cars that came back for service. We had two vehicles that needed major repairs. So we were pushing those cars inside the building
Why were you doing that?
to save them from destruction.
Up until that point, had any of the property at the Car Doctor location been damaged?
No, sir. Sorry, could you repeat that question again?
Absolutely. I think you're describing that on Tuesday, August 25th, you and someone else were pushing some cars inside the building.
Yes.
What I'm wondering is, before that, had any of that property at that location, the building or the cars or anything else, been damaged?
On Tuesday or before Tuesday?
Before Tuesday.
Before Tuesday. Sorry, I have to think about it. It's about a
That's
year
fine.
back. So you were asking Monday?
Well, I think you've testified that Car Source 1, the first
Yes.
location,
Mhm.
had been destroyed by fire.
Right.
What I'm wondering is, were any of the other locations, the Car Doctor or the other Car Source, burned or damaged in any way?
I'm sorry, I cannot remember. I don't believe so.
Other than pushing some of the customers' cars inside the building at Car Doctor, what else did you do at those locations on Tuesday?
We basically removed our mechanic tools because we didn't know what was going to happen, and cleaned up because there was from Monday night, you can say. Some cars did get damaged, a lot of glass everywhere, and our mechanics and detailers were basically clearing up the lot. Just clean up, basically, pretty much.
Other than what you've just described,
Mm-hmm.
did you do anything else at either of the Car Source locations or at Car Doctor on that Tuesday?
On Tuesday, no sir. I was majority of the time I spent was at Car Doctor.
Did you ever have any discussions that day with anyone about protecting or guarding either of the Car Source locations or Car Doctor?
No sir.
Do you know or have you ever heard of a person by the name of Kyle Rittenhouse?
Now I have.
On that day, did you have any contact of any kind? Phone call, a face-to-face discussion, an email, a text message, anything like that with the person that you now know is Kyle Rittenhouse?
No sir.
Sir, I have a message that is up on the TV screen there. I would like you to please read it to yourself. Have you had a chance to read that message?
Yes sir.
Before today, had you ever seen that message before?
Before today? Yes sir.
When was the first time that you saw that message?
I cannot tell you exact time, but it was the day after the shooting.
The shooting occurred on a Tuesday,
Yes.
August 25th.
Yes.
Are you saying that you saw this message on Wednesday?
I am not sure. I cannot remember which day it was, but it was pretty close.
Where did you first see this message? In other words, did you see it on a device that you possess, or was it something on the internet, or
My
what?
cell phone.
Was this?
Sorry, I didn't hear your answer.
Sorry, what was the question again?
I think you said my cell phone.
This message, yes, on my cell phone. Sorry.
Mr. Khindri, the message that's up on that screen, was that a message that you personally received on your cell phone at some point?
Yes, sir.
And I believe you're not sure exactly when it was that you first saw it. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
There is a timestamp on this message, and it says yesterday, 3:02 p.m. Do you have any idea? Does that help you at all to figure out when this was?
The day after, I'm assuming.
Well, I get that, but I'm wondering if that helps you to understand which day of the week it was.
Wednesday?
Which would mean that this message came in on Tuesday?
Yes.
The message appears to be from someone who identifies themselves as Kyle. Do you know who that is?
I do not.
Someone sent this to your personal cell phone, fair?
Yes.
Do you have any idea how that person got your cell phone number?
Well, ever since Monday morning and Tuesday, I've given out my cell phone number, maybe hundreds of thousands of people, media, general public, my customers. They actually came by for condolences and stuff.
Do you remember giving your personal cell phone out? And I'll just point out, the defendant, Kyle Rittenhouse, is here in court. Put the photo, please. There is going to be a photograph that I'm going to show you on the screen. Let me just ask first, Mr. Khindri, have you ever seen that photo before?
Yes, I have.
Were you there at the time that that photo was taken?
I was not.
Do you recognize anyone in that photograph?
My brother?
Other than your brother, do you recognize anyone else?
My ex-detailer?
What is that person's name?
Nick?
Can you identify him in that photo?
He's wearing a hat with a cross?
He is the gentleman with the white hat with the red cross on it?
Yes, sir.
Other than your brother and the detailer, Nick, do you know or recognize anyone else in that photograph?
No, sir.
The individual who is the second from the right, he is a male with a green shirt, a black long gun, and wearing a backwards baseball cap. There is an orange device or some sort of case right in front of him on the ground. Do you understand who I'm referring to?
Yes.
That is the defendant, Kyle Rittenhouse, as he looked on the night of Tuesday, August 25th. On that night, or at any point on that day, Tuesday, August 25th, do you remember having any contact with that person?
Sorry, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
While he's armed?
No. I'm asking if you remember at any point on that Tuesday having any contact with that person, either in face-to-face, over the phone, a text message, an email, any contact of any kind.
I do remember he came to me at Car Source at the first location.
When you say the first location, is that the one in the 5800 block that had been
Yes, sir.
damaged by the
Yes, sir.
fires? Tell us what you remember about him coming to you at that location.
It was pretty normal. Just like everybody else, they were talking to us and that you're gonna be fine and this and that. You will come back from this. His response was the same, like the way he said it. He talked about how he can help us with fundraising the business, and I'm sure he asked for my phone number, which I gave it to him, just like I gave it to the media or any other individual who was nice and polite. And I don't remember him giving me his phone number, neither I asked for it.
Did you talk to him about protecting or guarding either one of the Car Source's locations or Car Doctor?
I did not.
On Tuesday, August 25th, did you talk to anyone about guarding or protecting either of the Car Source locations or the Car Doctor?
I did not.
You've identified your person that used to work as a detailer, Nick, in that white hat with the red cross.
Yes.
So this is August 25th, 2020. Was he still working with your family companies in
Not
any
at
way?
all, sir.
But he had done so in the past?
That was quite far back.
On that day, August 25th, that Tuesday,
Mhm.
did you talk to Nick Smith, that individual?
I did not.
Did you provide keys to anyone on Tuesday, August 25th, so they could get in or out of any of the car source locations or car doctor?
I did not.
Did you offer money to anyone?
I did not.
Please let me finish.
Sure.
Did you offer money to anyone in exchange for them guarding or protecting either of the car source locations or car doctor?
I did not.
Did you give anyone permission to be inside any of the buildings on either car source location or the car doctor location on Tuesday, August 25th?
I did not.
Did you give anyone permission to guard or protect any of those three properties?
I did not.
On that particular evening, did you know that there were people there with guns who had taken upon themselves to guard any of those car source locations or car doctor? Did you know that night that any of that was going on?
I did not.
I assume there came a time after that where you learned about that. Is that fair to say?
The next day, yes.
How did you learn about that?
News channel?
Was that the first time that you knew about any of that stuff?
Videos? Yeah.
I want to go back for a second to that text message that we showed on the screen earlier. Did you ever respond to this text message at any time?
I did not. I didn't know who it was.
One second, please, sir.
Sure.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Let's take a break, folks. Please don't talk about the case. Read, watch, or listen when you account of the trial. We'll see you in about 15 minutes.